Okay, hi guys. I hope homework went well last night. Please check your answers on day 2 if you have not done so already. Today is just day 3. It's a continuation of altitude on hypotenuse notes. If you have not done so already, either download the day 3 notes for iPad people or get a paper copy of the notes for paper people. Okay, just as a refresher, I'm going to go through our formulas. Ignore that. And our first one is that the altitude is the geometric mean between the two hypotenuse parts. Therefore, I'll have hypotenuse part 1 over altitude equals altitude over hypotenuse part 2. Very similar to that, the leg, either leg I should say, is the geometric mean between the hypotenuse, the full hypotenuse, and the adjacent hypotenuse part. And we proved all of this yesterday in our notes using similar triangles, so please reference those for help as well. Okay, if at any point you need to pause it because I'm going too fast, please do so, and you can rewatch it as well. Okay, so here we go. EH is 8, HG is 5, and we are looking for HF, which I will call X. Now, you don't have to write the relationship each time, but I do find it helpful. And I see that I need my altitude, therefore I'm going to do hypotenuse part over altitude equals altitude over hypotenuse part. And this one's pretty straightforward. 8 over x equals x over 5. Cross and multiply, we get x squared equals 40. And normally when I take the square root of both sides, I would put a plus or minus, but since we are talking about length, obviously we take the positive. And I'm left with the square root of 40, which we know can be broken down into the square root of 4 times the square root of 10. And I'm running out of room. We should end up with HF equaling 2 root 10. Okay, the next one, similar picture. We've got EH is 5, HG is 4, so same pieces were given, but this time I'm looking for EF. I'm looking for a leg. So seeing that I need a leg, that's going to change up my proportion. And I'm going to go ahead and set up that proportion of words. I'm going to say full hypotenuse over leg equals leg over that adjacent hypotenuse part. Well, full hypotenuse is made up of the 5 and the 4, therefore it's 9 over our leg of x equals x over, now in this case, you're looking for the part of the hypotenuse that is closest to x, that it's touching it. So, well, since we're looking for EF, EH is the part of the hypotenuse that's touching it, therefore I'll put my 5. X squared then equals 45. And, whoops, ignore that. We end up with x equaling, I'm going to break down that 45 right away. It's actually the 9 and 5 that we had from the problem. And we are left with EF to equal 3 root 5. Okay, moving on. Once again, though, feel free to pause if I'm going too fast. Oh, I keep doing that. And here we go. GF is 5, EG is 10, and HG is what we need. Now this one's a little harder to figure out. I don't need an altitude. I don't need a leg. I need a part of the hypotenuse. But you have to think about what's then already given. Did they give me the altitude or did they give me a leg? And obviously they gave me that 5, which is a leg. Therefore, I'm going to use the fact that my leg is the geometric mean between the hypotenuse and the adjacent hypotenuse part. So I'll write out that as well. Hypotenuse over leg equals leg over adjacent hypotenuse part. And this one's actually a little easier to solve. We have a full hypotenuse of 10 over a leg of 5. You could reduce, I'm not going to. Equals 5 over our adjacent hypotenuse part, which is, in this case, just that x that we need. And we end up with 10x equaling 25. X ends up equaling 2.5 or 5/2, which ends up giving us HG equal to 2.5. Okay, number 2 on the back. We fill out what we know and go from there. OK is 3 root 3. JK is 9. KM is unknown. I'm going to call that X. Okay, we're not looking for either a leg or an altitude. We're looking for KM, which is part of the hypotenuse. You have to ask yourself, well, what did they give me then? Well, they gave me an altitude. We're going to use our altitude formula. Hypotenuse part over altitude equals altitude over the other hypotenuse part. And filling it in, we'll get 9 over 3 root 3 equals 3 root 3 over x. And we end up with 9x. Hopefully you know what 3 root 3 times 3 root 3 is, but I'll show you the math like we talked about on day 1. It results in 9x. Well, equals 3 times 3 is our 9. Root 3 times root 3 gives us 3. In reality, there's no point even multiplying out to get 9x equals 27. You could cancel out the 9s, but 9x equals 27, and we end up with x equaling 3, or that KM has a length of 3. Okay, moving on. JO is 5 root 3. Looks like another one similar to the last one. JK is 5. And JM is what we would like. We need to find our hypotenuse. Well, since we need to find our hypotenuse, we have to think about what we were given. And we were given a leg. Setting that formula up. Hypotenuse over leg equals leg over adjacent hypotenuse part. Our full hypotenuse is what we're looking for. That's JM. That's why I called it X. The leg that we were told is 5 root 3 equals that 5 root 3 since the leg is the geometric mean. And then our adjacent hypotenuse part is JK, since JK is the adjacent piece of our hypotenuse 5. Very similar to our last one, we get 5x equals that 5 root 3 times 5 root 3. 5x now equals 5 times 5 or 25. Root 3 times root 3 is our 3. And we get 5x equals 75. Or that JM is equal to 15. Definitely make sure that your JM is larger than the adjacent hypotenuse part, because if your whole is not bigger than your part, you've definitely made a mistake. And now if I needed to, I could say that KM is equal to 10, since the full hypotenuse is 15 and JK is 5. Obviously this is not drawn to scale, but that's how you could find KM if needed. Okay, KM is 6, JK is 8, find OM. Once again, I need to use my leg formula. Hypotenuse over leg equals leg over adjacent hypotenuse part. Full hypotenuse is made up of that 8 and 6 or 14. 14 over x equals x over, well, is our adjacent hypotenuse part 6 or 8? Hopefully you're saying 6 since it's right next to it. And we're left with x squared equals 14 times 6 or 84. And the largest perfect square that goes in 84 is 4. Square root of 4, square root of 21, resulting in OM to equal 2 root 21. And finally, our last problem. AB is 13, AD is 5, find BC. A lot of leg problems in here. Hypotenuse over leg equals leg over that adjacent hypotenuse part. Full hypotenuse of 13. The leg that we need is x equals x. Now, what is our adjacent hypotenuse part? The only other part that I know at this moment is 5. But is 5 truly it? Hopefully you're saying no. The adjacent part that I need is BD. Do not call that another variable. Don't make your life tougher than it needs to be. Instead, if our full hypotenuse is 13 and the other part is 5, this is just 13 minus 5, or our 8. Resulting in that adjacent hypotenuse part to be that 8. Leaving us with x squared equals 104. And the largest perfect square that goes into 104 is 4 times 26. And we now have that CB, or BC, equals 2 root 26. Okay, please feel free to watch that again on your own if you need some more help with it. Tonight's homework is day 3. It is a worksheet. If you're a paper person, make sure you pick up a copy of that. And iPad people, it's obviously labeled as day 3 homework. I will see you tomorrow. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or come in and see me in the morning. Have a good day. Bye.